Courtney Cronin goes viral for a clip alluding to that Ryan Poles maybe actually didn't hire Matt Eberflus. Me and Steve are going to talk about that. Plus, the reported trade value that Justin Fields has on the market, and what could the Bears get for this year's number one overall pick. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's Chicago Bears Central.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, joined by Stevo in the building. What's going on, little bro?
What's the word?
Man, just another day, another dollar, man. But we got to jump into it, man. So I'm sure most Bears fans have seen it now. If you're on social media, a clip did kind of go viral in regards to Courtney Cronin on the Chicago Bears podcast with our friend Pat, the designer.
He didn't hire. I mean, I know what's out there. He was not the one who had the ultimate say on Matt Eberflus. That was a Ped Phillips, and that was a George McCaskey decision at the end of the day. So this would be Ryan Poles making that first real decision on a head coach. I know, like what was said, I chose him, that whole thing with the press conference, but you know, if you talk to people inside the building about who had the real juice in that moment, that was a Ted Phillips and George McCaskey decision ultimately. So,
and she talked about that, you know, Ryan Poles actually did not make that decision. That from what she's heard, being in the organization, that was a decision as far as hiring Matt Eberflus that was made before Ryan Poles got there. I've kind of always gone with the sense that Ryan Poles, because you know we heard that Ryan Poles had the final say, that he could have restarted the whole search if he wanted to. And I've always said, hey, if he decided to go with Matt Eberflus, that's on him. I still, you know, hold a little bit of that, saying that Ryan Poles is the GM. If Flus stays on, it's a decision by him. But Steve-O and me and you talking outside of this, you bring up some really great points about kind of the concerns about ownership and Ryan Poles. So when you heard this clip from Courtney Cronin, how'd it make you feel, brother?
I wasn't up in arms like everybody tried to make it out to be, because like I said, I'm the type of person that pays attention to tendencies, trajectories, and behavior. And what I seen by it, like at the same time, let me start off by saying both things can be true. Both things, as in Ryan Poles knew what he was walking into and he accepted the job. Nothing you could say about that. He knew Matt Eberflus was an option, and he, like you said, he had the option to, if he wanted to do the whole coaching search all over again, he could have. But he decided to put his trust into what the organization already did prior to hiring him, and he went with their best option. So he did what he did. But to me, I knew off rip, just because of who our owners was. I'm like, okay, they say they don't know football. We gonna kind of step back and let football people make football decisions. But as soon as I heard that you was gonna get your committee together and make your own thing, which is like you said outside of YouTube, all owners do the same thing. But I think the difference between other owners, you can kind of see, but to me, because I've studied and watched this team so much, I can almost pinpoint the DNA where George is at. And to me, Flus was you can see the DNA all over that. It was like, okay, he asked Bill Polian. Bill Polian is one of his trusted confidants, and Bill Polian has a great rapport with Indiana, with the Colts. And for George credit, Flus was not a terrible option. They had one of the best defenses that year. He was a defensive coordinator. If you see him on Hard Knocks, they was on Hard Knocks like a year or two prior before hiring him, and you can see everything that you want to see in a potential head coach. So I don't blame him for doing that, but I've always known you can't sit there and tell me with a straight face that Poe's been working with Eric Bieniemy for a multitude of years, and he wouldn't have been on your top three. No, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Flus was okay with Flus, but he wasn't Flus. Flus was not Poe's first choice or choice at all but he okayed it. So that's all we can say.
I mean, and that's a fair and level-headed way to view it, is that, and the way, I guess ultimately the way I look at it is this, is that Poles is now in charge. And I get what you're saying, and there's definitely always going to be concern that how much does ownership still really have their damn grimy hands in this. I do feel like the team is taking on the identity that what Poles has said that he wants this team to be viewed, but that's the players on the field. So this is kind of the question that I threw up. We can talk about it from this point. I want to know how you feel, Steve-O. How accountable then do you think we can hold Ryan Poles if Flus does stay on as head coach?
And yeah, I think that was the whole thing. I was trying to make the point as it's like I want to hold him to a standard that he set for himself, of course.
Mhm.
But like you said, with any situation of any ownership, you just do not know the amount of touches they have on any situation.
Yeah.
So based off what the actions you seeing and what you seeing translate on the field, we see a lot of DNA imposed. So we do feel and we can say with confidence that he has a nice portion of power alongside Kevin Warren over this organization. He can make draft picks, he can fire people, he can hire people. We know that. But I think we can also what's always going to be in the back of our head and we're always going to think is when it comes to the power structure of is my worry is George is always going to have his cronies around and they're going to be throwing out certain names and I'm just be like no, you said you wanted football people, especially modern football people who understands football to make football decisions. So if you have the utmost trust in Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, let them make those decisions. Yes, of course, they got to come to you to okay it. But you say yay or nay. You don't say yay or nay or no, maybe you should. No, just yay or nay.
Mhm.
That's all I need you to do is yay or nay. You said Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren is the people you want to have for this future to take your organization where you want it to be, which is winning football games and potentially being a Super Bowl winner. So if you're going to do that, let them do it. Don't sit there and have a committee on the side when you already hired the committee. Rand Poles and the people he hired is your committee. You no longer need a Bill Polian. You no longer need your people in place. You literally every situation in Bears history, from a organization standpoint, you have stepped back because it's been a minute where you hired a president that wasn't an accountant. You
Mhm.
actually hired people in the modern era of football that knows what they're doing on from an executive situation, from a front office situation, from a scouting situation. So let them do that.
Yeah.
You gave them the choice. Let them drive the car. Don't sit there and be a what they call it, a backseat driver.
Yeah, passing side. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I think it shows a lack of faith in who you hired on. You hired in Kevin Warren. You hired
Mm-hmm.
in Ryan Poles. You need to allow them to make the choices. And some of those may be that just like us with fans, right? Like we doubted, or I speak for myself. I doubted when he decided to go Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker instead of going after
We
wide
all
receiver.
did.
And those decisions, those players have turned out to really big pieces of the Chicago Bears' future. So, as an ownership group, you have to allow yourself to do that too. Like, hey, wait a second. I don't know about this, but let the man cook. Let him get to the picture. You have to allow. I always say this: most GMs and across most sports, but especially football, you have to give them 4 to 5 years, especially when it's different if he inherited already a winning team and a winning culture. He had to
He
change
stripped
everything
his
from the
club
ground up, had to
back.
strip everything down. So you got to give them that time and that opportunity to really build that out and see what they're going to be able to
Yeah.
turn it into.
And if all the people that's trying to come and put him already in a hot seat or just getting a little warm, literally the only egregious thing that I can say Ryan Poles has done as a GM is two people. Chase Claypool and maybe Valus Jones.
Yep.
That's literally the only people you can. And okay, that's just saying maybe he's not the best at looking at weapons on the opposite side of the ball. That's
Yeah.
why you hire other people. That's why Ian Cunningham is there in case he's good at that type of thing, or other people are there. But that's my whole thing. Just let the man's cook. Let them. He hasn't give you no reason or any thought where you should think I don't trust this dude. He's did it everything. There's very few people we've seen completely. Well, there's not nobody of recent memory that I could say come into this organization and completely stripped it out bare bone. They've always kept 2 to 3 people of the old core and try to retool it. No, this is probably the first real strip down we've had in probably 20 years.
Yeah, especially clearing the veteran contracts, things like that. And Ryan Poles, he's done a great job. Most cap space in the league last year and the number one overall pick. We're top 10 in the league in cap space
Twice.
going into this offseason with the number one overall pick. So, and a chance to get even more for that. And that kind of leads us to our next topic, Steve-O. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Bears can get back for the number one overall, which apparently is higher than I gave it credit for. But we also got word that the Bears could expect kind of a second or third round pick back if they were to trade Justin Fields. Now, very vocal that I don't think the Bears should look to be trading Justin Fields, but it's good to know kind of what that value is out there. When you hear that for Justin, do you think that's fair, equal value? Do you think that that's value that the Bears, if they are, interested in going after a quarterback, should they jump at that value and go ahead and do something with the first overall pick? Or do you think that that's not good?
I think he's definitely worth a second for sure. But to me, I just see how jumpy the league can be, and I think if we were to entertain it, we could possibly get a first. And I think somebody's dumb enough to do it. I think if somebody is dumb enough to do it, we see it every single year. And I would be remiss to say they have to take that into consideration. Somebody offer you a first round pick for Justin. Hey, like I ain't gonna lie, like that's something you might have to consider, especially if you like any of these quarterbacks that much. Me personally, I don't. And I say you stick with Justin, and you, like I said, for the most people I'm hearing in the Twitter spaces, YouTube world, they're expecting the playoff win a berth next year.
Yeah.
And the main thing I ask you is, do you have 100% confidence that a rookie quarterback is going to come in and lead you to the playoffs? I don't care how talented he is. There's still a huge learning curve, especially from the defensive side of the ball, passing wise, when you become a quarterback in this league. And like I said, I'm not against Caleb coming here. I'm not against any of these quarterbacks. Well, some of them, I'm against some of them. But from majority of this thing is, if you're going to bring in Caleb, Luke can't be there. Because if Luke be here, you're going to kill him, because we ain't running heavy RPO, and that's what he's used to.
Yeah.
If he's going to go somewhere, like I've even said it for his sake, if I'm Patriots, you better get Drake May. Don't get Caleb. It's all about getting the right thing that fits your things in the right space. But to go back to Justin, I think if I had to make a prediction, they're probably going to get most second rounds, third round picks, and you might get one person to throw you one, but it's all depending on your thoughts on Justin and the thoughts of the quarterbacks in the draft. Do you think somebody better than Justin? It don't matter. Go get them.
Yeah. I mean, that does come down to it. I mean, when you look at former top 10 picks, Trey Lance was traded. He was traded for a fourth round pick. And then Sam Darnold was traded for a second, a fourth, and a sixth round pick. So there you go on that. If you just kind of look at
who the hell did that?
That was Carolina.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, from everything that we're hearing right now, Atlanta will probably be the one to offer up the most for Justin Fields. Again, I don't think the Bears should trade Justin Fields. I think when you look, especially when you get into the next part of what we're going to talk about, what the Bears could get back in a trade package for the first overall pick, things get a little interesting. So as it stood yesterday in a different conversation with Courtney Cronin and Jeremy Fowler, they talked about it and they said this: if the Bears traded the first pick, the return could be immense. Several executives agree Chicago could net more than it did in the Panthers trade from a prospective trade partner already picking in the top 5. Those execs believe the price to get number 1 could be 2 future first rounders on top of this year's pick, along with a variation of a day 2 and or premium veteran player on a manageable contract. Now, that is a big, because I had been saying, my own thought process was, if you're trading with another team that's in the top 5, you're not going to get back as much as what you got from the Carolina Panthers because of how far they had to move up. But according to Jeremy Fowler and Courtney Cronin, is that actually the Bears could get 2 future first rounders on top of a first rounder this year. That's 3 first and a premium player. That I listen, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Do not get me wrong, but that type of deal, that's what you set your franchise up for the future. And because there are really good wide receivers that you can get in the mid, 10 after pick 10 and things like 8 and 10, that may make it a little bit more interesting for the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm. I've been saying people for the longest, like, because of the prospects that's in this draft, it demands way more than last year's draft. So like this can be one of those years where you see a deal like what happened between the Dolphins and I believe what was it 49ers when they got 3 first round picks and a player. We can get that. We could get that from possibly the Commanders. We could possibly get that from the Patriots. We could possibly get that from a couple other teams. Like the demand and the way they're talking about Caleb Williams, and really, like, I understand they tried to put that trajectory of a generational talent on Bryce, but I feel, even though I don't believe Caleb is a generational talent, you can kind of put more of on that. I will say his arms talent is generational. I won't say him as a quarterback is generational, but his arm talent is definitely generational. So I think because of that, some people are going to reach. And me personally, I'm down to one team that I'm pretty sure I know for a fact that's going to reach, and that's the Washington Commanders. Hey, you got a new ownership that's going in that's tired of the shit that they've been dealing with. They realize the past. You got Magic Johnson as one of those people, and he's not liking how he's being treated or respected as the whole organization as a whole. So he's gonna be like, hey, this kid from Maryland, everybody talking about, oh, he's a generational talent. Hey, go get him.
Yeah.
I could see Magic Johnson and the whole committee over there saying, hey, let's go get Caleb. He's from the city and he's more comfortable. To be honest, he fits way more over there. And I feel like he's gonna be a dog with Eric Bieniemy versus somebody like a Bill Belichick.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, give Eric Bieniemy a quarterback like Caleb Williams. That's dangerous there. That is a dangerous pairing there.
He's probably throwing 4,000 his first year.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, really, when you come down to it, like I said, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Do not give me. And technically, I mean, I guess if the Bears are trading within, as long as they are ahead of the Arizona Cardinals, they could technically still get Marvin Harrison Jr. So if you are trading with a team like the Commanders or trading with the Patriots at 2 and 3, and they're giving up that type of deal, you can still potentially draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and keep it moving. Now, that would mean that hopefully the Cardinals will try to pull off something crazy there, but. Now, with this, what we're hearing, do you think that we could see again Ryan Poles trade the number 1 overall pick before the draft, or do you think it could actually work into the Bears' benefit to get more to wait up until the day of the draft and play those teams against each other as long as possible?
I think, because like I said, I think last year compared to this year is very different, and I think everything that would happen early. Because of how, like I said, especially if you're going to send in that many type of draft picks, you have to make that deal early so you can get everything right before the draft versus like coaches, people you could bring in, money situation. So I could see this deal, him trading that pick, probably going to happen in February.
Okay.
That's what I'm predicting. So, and I think everything from the draft standpoint this year is going to have him more early than it did last year, and it's going to have to, because like I said, the trade demand is not the same as it was last year. These prospects are way more proven than the prospects that came out last year. They just are.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean it's a lot different, right? They're kind of, when you look at Caleb Williams, look at Drake May, even Jaden Daniels, who's definitely going to move up in there as well.
Penix,
Penix. Like, I tell you what, I do like Penix, but it is what it is. I still don't.
Why you have to say Penix? Why you have to say
listen? Because I had to make sure that everybody knows that I'm saying the X in that. I don't always enunciate well. That's one of those names where if I don't enunciate it well, it could be taken real left. But
what can say? Paul syndrome? What do you say?
Paul's traumatic stress disorder.
Right. Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, so definitely, man, and the Bears are gonna have a lot to options for them. And what we know about Ryan Poles, the man's playing chess right now, where everybody else is playing checkers. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Ryan Poles finds a way to trade down twice and still walk away with everything that he wants in this, as well as if you're talking about getting a first in this draft and two future firsts. Hey, listen, that's a deal that you just, it's hard. It'd be hard for any team to pass that up. And I hope that even kind of the Justin Fields, haters kind of understand that as well. Like, that's something, especially when you have a quarterback who has improved and still has 2 years left potentially on a rookie scale deal. That's kind of hard to pass up, because one of those two future first could be Arch Manning if we do end up having to move on from Justin Fields.
Arch. And that's the thing I try to break down with everybody. I'm like, you do realize there's going to be a Caleb Williams next year, in the year
Mhm.
after that, in the year after that. Most often than not, maybe not even the year after that. I said Caleb Williams comes around every 2 to 3 years. It just does. More generational, just because these kids and the way they're training differently at an early age. These dudes' trajectory is so high already. Like it's like they're breeding generational talents because they're just training at an extravagant level than people are realizing.
Yeah.
They're understanding the game at an earlier age, so they're going to see these generational tackles, quarterbacks come more often than not. So that's my whole thing. Like, and even and if you listen to them, even some of the Justin Fields haters realize with the roster that we could potentially have next year and after the draft, if we keep him, they still realize no matter who quarterback is coming in, it's still a better situation than we had just when we got him. So, hey, it's all about making the right decisions. That's really what it comes down to. Make the right decision, don't make the wrong ones. And Pose has not made a wrong decision from when it comes from the draft perspective. He said we're gonna build through the draft, and that's what he's been doing.
Yep. And he's been doing a really damn good job at it. When you look at like the secondary, all players 24 and younger, that's really a big part
He
of the
shut us up
future.
quick.
Man, listen, that secondary, he's and it was so quiet, right? Like when you go back and look at it, we got Kyler Gordon, we got Jaquan Brisker, we knew that they were solid players in their rookie year. You add Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson to what you already had in Jalen Johnson. Like, yeah, you got to figure out another safety to come in after Eddie Jackson. But other than that, man, hey, Pose is cooked, bro. Pose is cooked, man.
He most definitely cooked. Hey, he going down as one of the greatest mugs to not win a championship yet.
That's true. That's true. Any last thoughts before we get up out of here, Stevo?
Hey, just know we ain't letting up on y'all ass. As soon as the season's in, we still coming with them videos. Just
absolutely. Know. The daily content is still coming. The season, this is because the season ends don't mean Chicago Bears Central ends. You're still gonna be seeing our faces every single day, man. But that's it, man. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, 773-242-9336. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end everything on Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you, motherfuckers. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.